All right, Thomas. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get into these predictions.
Okay.
We got just for the record, what ended up happening this week was Zach Colgan, our guest from last week, absolutely destroyed us. Um, First time, by the way. So I already texted him and told him, but he is the first guest to actually beat me and Thomas on an episode because I believe me and Alex Peterman tied, and then Thomas beat both of us that week, and then I believe me and TJ Wright. Uh, I want to say TJ Wright came in third. I think Thomas won that week. I came in second, and TJ came in third. I think we were all separated by one prediction. But Zach went 12-4 this week, and Thomas went 9-7 this week, and I went 8-8. So Thomas is the official winner of this year's predictions.
I got my big
Um,
upset of the week right though. That's all that matters to me.
I don't even remember what my big upset. I think I picked so many upsets just because I was just trying to
Well, the hard
I
one to
was just trying
predict
to
when you
win.
have
I had to say some off the wall shit to have a shot at winning since I was 12 games behind. I ended up finishing 13 games behind, so I guess my strategy didn't work at all. But Thomas, your final record on the year was 94-44-1. Mine was
wow.
81-57-1. So
Okay.
yep, it'll be better next year though. Hopefully, I won't get off
I,
to like a 10 game deficit.
I take that. I take that. I take that. But no, I mean like it's a hard week to predict considering the fact you don't know who's resting, who checked out.
Well,
It's
that
a
and I
hard
mean,
week.
it's week 17, so you're going to see a lot of people who, are going to be just like not bothering. You're going to see a lot of teams that you may not have expected to bother that really, showed up and tried. And then you're going to see some
I mean,
crazy ass predictions, which we'll talk about, not predictions, but decisions that we'll talk a little bit more about when the time comes. But
yeah, the
like
Chargers
Doug
aren't better
Peterson
than
benching Jalen Hurts. I don't know what, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, So yeah, Thomas, you won this year. We'll see how the playoffs go. That'll be completely differently judged thing. And
Oh
then and
yeah,
then
that's when the
next
real
year,
predictions
hopefully, I
start.
can do a little bit better than you. But I don't know. We'll find out. At least I didn't. At least I didn't end up. I ended up picking about 25 or 26 games correctly more than I got wrong, which I'm happy about because for the first like 3 or 4 weeks, I think I had a losing record. So
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty bad at first. I
Hey
kind
man,
of
come
turned
back.
things around, but not enough to get over on you. But
Ah.
anyway, let's talk about what we got wrong. Now, all three of us um, predicted the New York Giants to beat the Dallas Cowboys, and that did happen. Um,
Okay.
and we also predicted the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Washington football team to send the 6-10 Giants to the playoffs, um, which should have happened.
Now
But
I
like I
didn't.
said earlier, what happened was Doug Peterson infuriatingly, and first of all, I just want to say fuck the Giants. Okay, y'all went 6-10. I don't give a shit. Y'all can be mad about the Eagles not winning all you want, but you went 6-10, so you deserve to be sitting at home. I don't care if you had a shot to win the division. That's ridiculous. You have no right to complain. But if you're an Eagles fan, you should be absolutely out of your mind, livid at Doug Peterson for benching Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld because of one bad drive. I don't know what you're thinking. And Nate Sudfeld, was he tanking? Was he trying to preserve their pick? I don't know what was going on. Because I mean, this just seemed like a situation of, oh, I won a Super Bowl, you're not going to fire me, and then just making some dumbass decision like throwing Nate Sudfeld in over Jalen Hurts because of one bad drive, and then having the nerve, having the audacity to say it was a move made in the interest of winning. Like, how could you possibly say that? Especially after seeing how bad Nate Sudfeld played and then keeping him in the rest of the game. Like, you got to be out of your mind. No wonder Carson Wentz wants out of there. What an absolute joke. But yeah,
It's
the
just such a
Washington football team
bizarre.
did win and completed their division championship. Um, and I'm very happy for Ron Rivera and Alex Smith. That's a great story. But at the same time, it only happened, and I guess in the only way that a team really should be winning the NFC East this year is by the opposing team just being completely incompetent. So that's what happened.
Bizarre game.
That's what happened. The
It was a
Washington
real
football
bizarre game.
team got a very NFC East ending to this year.
You know, when how valid are your 7 wins when you're winning games against other when you play 6 games against the NFC East opponents.
Right.
Like 6 of your games are against NFC East teams.
Well,
I guess 4 of our
Steelers.
games are against Tennessee. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It was a weird game. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Ron Rivera and Alex Smith. Honestly, I never realized that Alex Smith was even starting.
Yeah.
If I did realize Alex Smith was starting, I would have started. I would have said that the Washington football team would have won the game. I didn't know because there was a whole Dwayne Haskins scenario, and even still, but you got to realize what's been going on with Washington football team. Right now as we speak, we got the owners of Washington football team suing each other.
Really?
There's that.
I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, well, so the majority owner, all the minority owners are trying to team against. Yeah, all the minority owners are trying to team up against the majority owner.
Wow.
We try our best not to talk about politics on this podcast, or we're not. I'm not gonna go down the road, but the whole name change thing, lack thereof a name change. There's a lot of rumors going around that most of the pressure came from the minority owners, and those are people who wanted the most. So it's a messy situation with the owners. I don't know the exact parameters of it. I'm just saying what I heard and what I read. But from what I've been reading and from any mild research, there has been this function going on in the Washington football team organization between owners. That being said, the fact that they're still to make playoffs with all that dysfunction going on with Dwayne Haskins still being Dwayne Haskins, it's just a testament of how good of a coach Ron Rivera is and how he's able to keep his team focused and able to make a playoff run and beat the Steelers, like you said, and beat good teams and make playoffs. So I can't hate. Go ahead, do your thing, football team. Go ahead and do your thing.
You know what? If anybody was gonna make the playoffs in that division, I think honestly, it would have been a shame if the Giants had made it at 6-10. It's already a shame that anybody's making it at 7-9. This is only the second time in NFL history that a 7-9 team has made the playoffs. And the last time was back in 2010. The Seahawks did it among an absolutely atrocious NFC West. And what's funny is actually immediately after that season, the NFC West suddenly became the best division in football. So we'll see what happens with the NFC East here. The Panthers got close with 7-1, but anyway, I think if nobody really deserved it in that division, but I think Washington probably came the closest deserving it. So I think you're right. Go do your thing, Washington. Go see if you can do anything against the Buccaneers. And actually, I think the Buccaneers probably would have been upset if they would have been maybe not upset, but salty if they had to play the Giants, because the Giants almost beat them earlier this year. So can you imagine being Tom Brady leading the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to like your second NFL team to the playoffs with what they have an 11-5 record? Just imagine being Tom Brady leading your second NFL team to the playoffs after just jumping ship and taking a team that has gone through a huge playoff drought to the playoffs and like having this big, hoopla about that. Then you show up and you got the New York Giants, who have been a thorn in your side your entire fucking career, by the way. And then
They get
and then this 6-10 team knocks you out of the playoffs. Like that it would just be like I think the worst possible end of the season for Tom Brady.
man, they get the best playoff matchup, man. They get the easiest playoff matchup. Them lucky bastards.
Yeah,
Them
they're
lucky
they're, they're gonna
bastards.
roll all over the Washington football team. I think.
The five
We're
seed, man.
not
The
gonna
five
do
seed is such an underrated
we're not gonna
seed,
do
man.
predictions for those games until like Thursday, but I can tell you right now, I'm almost definitely gonna pick Tampa Bay over the Washington football team because that's not even a fair game. I don't think.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, I think we should just rename the Comeback Player of the Year award to the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year award.
Yeah, no, dude.
Because
Like you
like,
do. Oh my god. Like
who
his
on
story.
earth has that kind of story? Like this guy almost died. This guy almost sustained an injury on the football field that nearly killed him. He nearly had to
Yeah.
amputate his like one of his legs.
Yeah.
Like, and this guy's back playing football, and not only is he coming back playing football, it's like they would have given him the Comeback Player of the Year award if he had taken a snap, if he had kneeled down at the end of like ceremonially kneeled down in week 17 or something like that. They would have given the Comeback Player of the Year for that. But this man came and took the starting job away from a first round draft pick. And in fact, he wasn't even given the starting job right after that. He had to fight through two quarterbacks to get to the starting job, secured the starting job, and then took his team to the playoffs. Like who in you would bet on if you would bet on that happening like 3 years ago, like that sequence of events happening 3 years ago, you'd be a millionaire right now. Put $2 on it, you'd be a millionaire right now.
Dude, if he end up beating Tom Brady, I'd be cracking up. I'll be cracking. I think that hilarious.
I don't think
because I don't think that's
happen.
gonna happen either. But I just think it would just be funny that I just think it'd just be funny that it would just prove that like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady needed each other. But maybe not because
I don't know about that. Like I said, Bill Belichick lost Tom Brady, and suddenly they're a 6-10 team. Is that right? 6-10.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
7-9.
Yeah,
7-9.
7-9. All right.
So Bill Belichick loses Tom Brady, and they go from being a dynasty to being a losing football team. The 2 years that Bill Belichick has been the coach of the Patriots, and well, okay, let me rephrase. The 2 years that Tom Brady's been in the league and was not the starting quarterback of the Patriots at the end of it, just happened to be the 2 years that the Patriots did make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that is notable. And then on top of that, Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers, which had a notoriously long playoff drought, and then showed up and suddenly they're the top wild card seed in the division. And had it not been for for whatever reason the team's complete inability to play against the Saints, had it not been for that, then I feel they could have been. They could have been like 12-4 and possible division champions. And I mean, who knows what happens if they manage to beat the Saints. So I don't think there's any question as to who was, the better of the two at their respective positions. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that Patriots dynasty happens without both Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. But what I'm saying is I think Tom Brady is a better quarterback than Bill Belichick is a coach. And I think that this season is kind of proving that. Now, at the same time, I think Bill Belichick is part of the reason why Tom Brady got so great. I don't think Tom Brady would have been that great if he had gone to another team. So, there's some ebb and flow there. But I think ultimately Tom Brady ended up being the greater of the two.
That transition to the Jets, is that our transition to the Jets Patriots game?
It wasn't going to be, but it can be for sure.
All right, cool. So let's talk about that real quick.
Let's talk about that one. There ain't too much for me to say though, because you were the only one who got that one wrong. All of us got the Washington game wrong, but you got you thought the Jets were going to beat the Patriots, which fair enough. That was a decent analysis, but it didn't happen.
I was trying to be cute. I was trying to be cute there. The reason why like honestly, like I said, I made my predictions in seconds. I didn't really think too much about it, but my quick thinking was the Jets the last couple of weeks looked pretty good to beat the Browns and the Rams, two playoff teams, and I just thought that Sam Darnold looked like he was just in rhythm. And I thought that he could be in rhythm against the Patriots, even though it goes against my rule with Bill Belichick versus young quarterbacks. I just thought the Jets might be able to take the Patriots. I thought the Patriots might come out disinterested. They didn't. The Bill Belichick team. Shame on me for thinking that. If they put up a good fight, they did lose by 2 touchdowns, but for what it's worth, they put up a good fight for in fact, the game was close until the fourth quarter. It went to the fourth quarter the Patriots pulled away. In fact, I'm pretty sure the Jets were leading at one point in this game, weren't they? Were they leading, or were they just?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I remember
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
at it
yeah,
and being
yeah.
like, "Oh my god, that might happen,"
Yeah.
and then
So
it didn't.
yeah, well, they can't close out the Jets. So I just thought they might. Weird stuff happens at the end of the year. I remember the Browns one year winning 4 games in a row at the end of the season and winning 2 games next season. So I don't think that I just thought that the Jets might just catch the game where both teams would just be disinterested. Um, I'm still interested to see where Sam Darnold ends up. I hope it's not Pittsburgh. God, I hope it's not Pittsburgh.
You know,
Him or
actually, I have a thought about that. Um,
I think that's a place you can go to though.
I am going to predict that next year, Sam Darnold will be the starting quarterback of the New York Jets.
I mean,
And you know
yeah,
why? Because I think you know where all the Sam Darnold's going to get canned talk came from the fact that everybody was convinced that the Jets were going to be in position to draft Trevor Lawrence, and everybody was like, "Hey, well, at that point, why not just go get Trevor Lawrence? Screw this whole Sam Darnold experiment. Like he's got some talent, but he's not developing it fast enough to the point where you might as well go get a guy if he's going to be as generational as sure of a thing as Trevor Lawrence."
they
Then
still might get Trevor Lawrence.
what do you think they're going to trade with the Jaguars?
I'm just saying they still might get Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, if Trevor Lawrence is available to the Jets at number 2, that's not going to happen. But if it does,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm not. Look, I'm just what I'm saying. Me personally, I personally think that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in this draft. Personally,
anybody with
now,
a brain thinks that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in this draft. I don't know. Are you trying to
I'm
make a
not
point
going to
about
say
Justin
that.
Fields? Because let's be not stupid here, please.
Well, there's this guy named Urban Meyer who may or may not become the head coach of the Jaguars, and that makes things interesting. So I don't know. I just put it out there. Like, I'm not gonna sleep on the fact that the crazy things happen on game day. Draft day. I thought there was no way the Browns would draft Baker Mayfield, and they did.
Well, okay, but Urban Meyer never coached Justin Fields, so there's no connection.
That's true. He never did. Justin Fields actually transferred the year that Urban Meyer. He transferred the year after Urban Meyer was there, but Urban Meyer recruited him. I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe. I'm just saying.
he did recruit Justin Fields, in fairness, but he never really coached him. So it's just kind of like there is a connection there, but I don't think that it's that much of a connection, especially when Trevor Lawrence is by far and away. Like, I mean, yeah, the college football playoff game didn't go so well for Clemson, obviously. But by far and away, Trevor Lawrence, I think that has more of a problem with Clemson's defense than it has to do with Trevor Lawrence. Now, I know he didn't have a great game, but as far as like talent goes,
I agree with you. Look, I'm just saying, if Ohio State, especially dude, if Ohio State finds some way to beat Alabama,
okay.
I'm not saying any of that will happen. But I'm just saying, if
not.
if Ohio State found some way to beat Alabama, you know how people are. You know how people are. You
But okay, it's
know how
one thing
people
for
are. You
fans to get like super on like one quarterback's train because they're reactionary, but it's another thing for NFL coaches to do that.
I'm just
I don't
saying,
really I don't see that happening. Like nobody in their right mind thinks that Justin Fields is a better prospect than Trevor Lawrence.
again, I am not saying Justin Fields is better than Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying
I'm not saying
do
you're
not sleep
saying that.
on
I'm
it.
saying nobody in their right mind thinks that. There might be, some reactionary people out there who get emotional about the thing. There's going to be Ohio State fans who probably try to make that claim. There's going to be there's going to be things here and there where that argument might pop up. But nobody, if you really sit down and actually look at it, which is what NFL scouts are going to be doing, they're going to be looking at the film, they're going to be looking at this, that, and the other. Once you do all of the preliminary work, nobody is going to think that Justin Fields is a better prospect than Trevor Lawrence. Nobody.
I mean, the Browns did draft Johnny Manziel after getting invited to Mahomes guy on the streets.
Well, yeah, but nobody thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be that great either. Like, I mean, if you recall, Patrick Mahomes was seemed to be a project.
I do remember that. I'm just saying it's not outside the realm possibility of the Jaguars go Phillips first pick overall over Lawrence. I'm just saying that's not
it's not outside of the realms of. You're right. Outside of the realms of literal possibility, there is a universe out there where this happens, but
I think there's a good chance.
I don't think there's a good chance.
I mean, you're right. You're right. I'm just gonna say you're right. I just think that I don't know.
Okay, so here I will cede to you if the Jaguars find some for some whatever reason are not picking Trevor Lawrence at number one, whether it be they trade away the pick or they get like enamored with some other prospect or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If the Jets have the opportunity to go get Trevor Lawrence, then they will pick him over Sam Darnold. But if it's not Trevor Lawrence, I don't think that they're going to move on from Sam Darnold. I really don't. Actually,
if Ohio State beats Alabama next week, get ready. Get ready for that. Get ready. If Ohio State beat Alabama next week, this is not going to be the last time we have this conversation. That's all I'm going to say.
You know what, Thomas? If Ohio State beats Alabama next week, I will predict the Washington football team to win the Super Bowl.
Dude.
Have you not seen what Alabama's been doing lately?
Oh no! Trust me, I've seen it. I've seen it. I'm not an Ohio State fan. I haven't even thought about this game at all. Like I haven't even I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't care about either one of the teams. I'm literally just gonna watch it as an observer. I'm not even gonna make a prediction on the game. All I'm saying is, if Ohio State wins next week, get ready to have this conversation again.
Okay, you know what? I will entertain the discussion of Justin Fields being better than Trevor Lawrence.
He's not better than Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence. But I'm just saying, if he beats,
I will entertain the discussion about him being the number one overall pick if Ohio State beats Alabama. If that happens, I will grant that as a conversation that is totally worthwhile to have. That's fine.
By the way, let me say this though.
That's a ridiculous thing to think is going to happen, though.
By the way, I was very anti-Justin Fields until I watched that game against Clemson. He played a hell of a game. I gotta give it to that kid, man. He played a hell of a game. Like not just like with his legs. He might be the first quarterback from Ohio State in a long time to be very good at a pro level.
So you mean ever?
Yeah, ever, pretty much ever, yeah. The thing is that the thing that many Ohio State quarterbacks already is Ohio State, they like the quarterbacks who rely more on their legs and their arm. Obviously Lamar Jackson doing that right now, but Lamar Jackson still have at least a glimmer of throwing ability. He still have a very strong arm. Justin Fields have a very solid arm. his accuracy is actually pretty damn elite. Like that kid have really good accuracy. Again, I'm not saying he's better than Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is a whole other level of good, but Justin Fields, man, he showed a lot of grit, man. He played a hell of a game. I can't take anything away from him and how he played. And if the Jaguars decide to go number one with him, I don't think that they're gonna get a bust. I don't think they're gonna get a bust. I think they'll get a very good quarterback. I just don't think that. I think it would be like drafting Carmelo Anthony over LeBron type thing. Like Carmelo Anthony's good, but he's not LeBron.
I have never been less opposed to the idea of an Ohio State quarterback working out in the NFL as I am with Justin Fields. I think I'm not. I don't think that he's going to be a bust either. I think he's going to be. I think he has a lot of potential. I don't know what he's going to do in the NFL, but I'd be kind of surprised if he was a bust, depending on where he goes.
Yeah.
I had a completely different perspective on Dwayne Haskins at the time, but I seem to have been right about that, as I typically am.
He's immature as hell.
In general, I'm usually pretty good on quarterbacks. I'm not going to say famously because I'm not famous in any way, shape, or form, but I was very wrong about both Blake Bortles and what was that other guy they drafted? Blaine Gabbert. Both those guys I thought were going to be like, the next great big thing. Oh, and Jake Locker. I thought Jake Locker was going to be like, the next great quarterback to ever make it to the NFL. But so I had some pretty bad whiffs around that time when I was a kid. But in general, I'm usually pretty good about, what I think quarterbacks are going to be. Also, I don't want to say I was completely wrong about Justin Herbert. I was wrong. I said he was going to be a bust, and I was wrong about that. But I wasn't wrong about what I saw on tape. And he does have a lot of the issues. He's overcome those issues extremely well, but he still shows a lot of those issues that I was worried about. But anyway, we're getting way off topic here.
I'm sorry. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this a lot in the offseason. I hope Ohio State be out. I hope Ohio State beat Alabama so we can talk about this. Because I really want to talk about this again. I hope Ohio State wins. Now, I don't like y'all. I don't like y'all go Bobcats.
Roll Tide.
For content reasons, be Alabama because this is fun. This makes this podcast a lot of fun because
Roll Tide.
It'd just be an interesting conversation to have again. I just want to have an interesting
conversation, but no, I hope Alabama cremates them. I'm not even an Alabama fan, but I am.
I hate Ohio State.
I am an SEC fan, so
I mean, I don't hate Ohio State. Sorry, maybe
I hate Ohio State. You don't have to hate Ohio State. I hate Ohio State, and I'm not going to lie about it.
I don't like them. I don't like them, but I don't hate them.
I hate them. I hope they lose. I hope they get. If it was a choice between rooting for Ohio State or rooting for the Steelers, I would choose Ohio State every single time. But there's not too many other teams.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You're right. I don't like it's the OU thing, man. It's the OU thing.
Oh, I hate Ohio State long before OU. Like I said, you don't have to. That's just how I feel about
it. I mean, there's some disdain there.
Moving on to the next game that we need to talk about. Like I said, the only game that all three of us got wrong was the Washington football team beating the Philadelphia Eagles. But Thomas and I both, Thomas, I'm talking to you, Thomas, I can talk to the audience. Thomas and I both thought that the Detroit Lions were going to beat the Minnesota Vikings. They almost did. They didn't, though. And Zach Colgan picked the Detroit Lions to win this game. And that is what happened, but they barely won. Like at the very, very, very end, no. Hold on, I'm completely okay. So just cut all that out. Ignore.
I'm gonna say
Minnesota Vikings won, and me and Thomas expected the Detroit Lions to win.
I'm about to say. I'm gonna say that. Yeah.
It was very close. I believe
I didn't see the game.
It wasn't that close, really. I don't think
I didn't see the game.
Detroit
I didn't.
was winning near the end of the second quarter, but really that's about it. For the most part, Minnesota was kind of controlling this game, although they were never really like dominating or anything like that. But this is a pretty inconsequential game. Nobody really cares. But the Minnesota Vikings did in fact win. They finished the season 7-9 and sent the Detroit Lions home packing to a 5-11 record. And that's about all the analysis I have because nobody cares about the Lions and Vikings. Yay.
Dude,
Kirk Cousins had a good day.
I mean, like
405 yards. Yeah, he didn't do too bad.
Like, what do you win? Like, this is like one of those NFL games where you're literally just playing because you got to show up for a check. Like, what are you winning for winning this game?
Well, I mean, the Vikings and Lions are both eliminated from the playoffs. Nobody really cared. The Vikings, neither the Vikings or Lions are about to go get like, the number 1 draft pick or anything like that.
Like,
so,
why did they even play this? Like, here's the question though. Like, here's the other thing about this game though, right? Is that there wasn't even like fans in the stadium. So like there wasn't even fans in the stadium. Like you know what I mean? Like generally the last couple of weeks of the NFL game, like I like the I see the hidden gems of like the unconsciential play last couple of games of the season because you can just buy cheap tickets, watch some football, and get drunk and just scream for no reason. I love going the Browns fan. I found the hidden joy out of that. But they didn't even have fans in the stadium.
I almost kind of feel like why bother even playing this game?
Exactly. Because I want to say that, but I don't want to say that.
Because of COVID. That's why, like any other year, I'd say, yeah, play this game because, revenue and what it means to the city and et cetera, et cetera. But why even bother playing this game when neither team matters to the final standings? Like really the only difference is like there's a little bit of a, I think a draft implication there. Mm-hmm. But I also, I believe the Lions had the tiebreaker over the Vikings for draft positioning, so it really wouldn't have mattered anyway. I mean, I think
that's literally what I'm getting at.
And a couple of spots, but that's.
I don't want to say to the NFL team, hey, why would you what's the point of us even playing this game? But I'm kind of thinking that,
in the year of COVID, I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, but like in baseball, there have been multiple instances in baseball where teams where there's rain delays in baseball. There's been multiple instances in baseball where they're like, all right, this game is inconsequential to anything else that goes on in the rest of the league of baseball. So we're not going to make up a game between two teams that aren't even going to the playoffs. Like there was one year, it wasn't that long ago, it was like 2-3 years ago. The Indians went 81-80, which is, or was it 81-80, or it was an odd number. It was an odd number of games they played because one of the games they get made up. So they just didn't play it. Here, Cleveland Indians. Well, they're not called the Indians anymore. They're gonna be called something else. But
the Cleveland baseball team.
Yeah, Cleveland baseball teams. We're gonna call them. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find the record. Cause I know it wasn't that long ago. It had to be like a couple of years ago. But anyway, it was 2015. 2015. Instead of them playing 162 games, they only played 161 games, and they also only played 161 games in 2016, the year they went to the World Series that year, which is ironic. So they that's kind of funny. They didn't play all their games the year that it mattered. So like in baseball, like there's been multiple instances where teams don't play every single game of the season because of rain delays and it'd be inconsequential to the rest of the season. Well, I can't say that word right now, but yeah, but it's kind of the same thing with I don't know, like I just don't see the point of playing that game. Like, why do we have that game? Like, there was no fans, there was no tickets to be sold.
There was no reason for that game. Like, well, it's like I said, in the year of COVID, if there was ever a game just to cancel just because who the fuck cares, it's that one.
Like, I don't think the players even cared. Like, did
Exactly.
you
Like
watch
they
that game?
didn't. Like Kirk Cousins played like he cared, but that's really about it. Anyway,
Did the
moving on
announcers
to
care?
a more consequential game. Um, a game that I got right and both you and Zach got wrong was the Green Bay Packers defeating the Chicago Bears. Now, I've been Mr. Believe in Mitch, Mitch is the truth all year, but like, come on. Come on, it's the Packers. Like, I already made this mistake earlier in the year where I thought the Bears were going to like pull a fast one on the Packers or something, and it didn't happen then. What the hell is it going to happen now when the Packers
see,
are playing as good as they've played all year, and they're fighting for the number one seed?
this comes down to me not knowing the beat on each team, which team is starting their players, which team is resting their players. Because, like, let's admit, like we don't really know. Like I was, like, for example, the Bills, Buffalo. We'll get to that in a second. I didn't know Buffalo was starting Josh Allen this game. I was like, there's no way they're starting Josh Allen, right? And they did.
Well,
So, like, I didn't.
what they said they were going to do was they were going to start him for like a half, and then they were going to like let his backup do the rest of it, which is what happened, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, they just. I didn't know what the Packers were really going to do when I made that prediction. I didn't really have enough time to really look up to see if the Packers will rest Aaron Rodgers. I just assumed, hey, the Packers, they probably going to vote to rest instead of playing. But then again, it would make sense for them to play for that number one seed.
Yeah.
Yes, I just thought that the Bears might be able to get a game, because I thought even still, like, cause like the Packers, they still had it would have been really hard for the Saints to jump the Packers, right? Would it, like, I thought the Packers had it locked up. I'm sorry, I didn't do my research before that game, before I
It
made that
was
pick. I
it
just
would have
thought,
been difficult, yeah, but it wasn't impossible. And I think that was the thing.
I got you.
The Packers were playing, I think, to just like kill off all possibility. That's the main
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And that was
because they
the
had,
thing for me. It's like this Packers team has the Bears number. Like it's just like Aaron Rodgers is daddy to the
oh yeah,
Chicago.
no, oh yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I just thought that there might be a
And
possibility that the
I get that.
Packers.
But
That's my thinking. That's
here
why
is
week 17 is
why
so hard to predict,
here
because
is
you don't know
why
who's
I
resting.
was confident that the Chicago Bears would lose this game. Is because I also thought the Los Angeles Rams were going to win their game. And well, first of all, the main reason I picked the Packers is because the Packers are just straight up the better team than the Bears. Like
Yeah.
no question whatsoever. The Packers absolutely should have been expected to steamroll the Bears the way they did. But the other thing is the Bears making the playoffs at 8-8 is the single most Mitch Trubisky thing I've ever heard in my life. So there you go. There you go, Mitch. You got a playoff berth. And on top of that, he was also a Pro Bowl quarterback at one time. So you know what,
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky, despite the fact that he's not very good, and I've never claimed that he's any good, but despite the fact that he's not any good, he is the answer in Chicago, and y'all just need to accept that and realize that you're destined to, the Chicago Bears. You are destined to mediocrity. Now accept it and re-sign Mitch Trubisky. That was awful. Next game we have that we need to talk about is the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills. Now, you just said that part of the reason you thought that the Dolphins were going to win this game was because you thought that Josh Allen wasn't going to play, which is fair
Yeah.
enough. This one makes more sense than the Packers because the Packers did have something to fight for. The Bills really didn't. But I
Yeah,
think the
it's a
thing
different pride.
is because of how young Josh Allen is and because of how because of how he played the playoffs last year, I think they wanted Josh Allen to go into the playoffs having not being rusty. They wanted him to go in the playoffs, and they basically wanted to have him to have a game of practice ahead of time. And
Yeah.
part of the reason that I didn't trust the Dolphins at all is because I really don't trust Tua Tagovailoa. Now, I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but I don't really think he's a good quarterback either. And he showed it in this game. He did throw for 361 yards, but he also threw for 3 interceptions and only 1 touchdown. He ended up with a quarterback rating of 62. So the other thing is exactly what I've been saying all year. I feel Brian Flores has been making a mistake by switching back and forth between Tua Tagovailoa and Ryan Fitzpatrick, because what you're doing, I understand you're trying to win games right now, but you're also stunting the growth of your quarterback by doing that. And it showed this week because Ryan Fitzpatrick was out with COVID. You didn't have the ability to like bench Tua when he wasn't doing well and basically have Ryan Fitzpatrick to come in there and play savior. And Tua wasn't attuned to having to basically pick himself up and find a way to get himself out of a funk. He basically just had to keep playing, and he has no idea how to get himself out of a funk. And as much praise as Brian Flores has been getting for the way that he's basically taken this Miami Dolphins team from one of the worst teams in the NFL the last couple of years to a playoff contender this year, that's fair enough. He's done a lot of good things, but I really, really don't like the way he's handled this quarterback situation and Tua Tagovailoa's development. Yes, maybe Tua Tagovailoa was supposed to be a more surefire, great quarterback than he's ended up being, but we've been spoiled by quarterback play this year because Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert were so good right out of the gate, and because Tua wasn't as good right out of the gate, everybody's like, "Oh, well, he must be trash." And it's like he's not trash. He's playing like most NFL, like most rookie quarterbacks play. But the problem is, if you're going to have a rookie quarterback start in his first year, you've got to let him work through the bullshit. And if that ends up with you like losing a little bit early on, that's the risk you've got to take. Otherwise, Otherwise, let him sit for the whole year and let him start next year. Don't play this whole game like putting him in and then pulling him out, and then putting him in and pulling him out. Like all you're gonna do is like you're gonna hurt his confidence. You're gonna hurt his development. I don't understand what Flores is doing here, and I've been questioning it all year, and I've been getting called crazy by some people who've been saying, "Oh, it's a genius move," but it doesn't look like a genius move to me. It looks stupid.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm not really too thrilled about how the whole pulling him and starting him and benching him and starting him and benching him. It reminds me. I always refer back to that game. I always refer back to that that playoff game the Ravens had a couple years ago when I was getting smacked, and Harbaugh said that he's not benching Lamar Jackson because you don't do that. You can't bench and then start young players and then bench them and then start them and then bench him.
You can do that once, I think, if the game is going.
He what 3 times?
But you can't do it over and over. You can't make that your game plan because all you're going to do is kill your young quarterbacks. If I think maybe like I think Harbaugh could have pulled Lamar Jackson and then put him in the following game. And then just that be the thing. Like, you had a mulligan, whatever. Now come back and you're not going to get saved again this time. But you kept letting Tua get saved, and you can't. That's an NFL quarterback can't be expected to go get saved all the time.
Yeah. Man, I and like I said earlier, like you can't. Tua also come off that hip injury, so he didn't really have come off an injury going to the pros. It's already difficult enough for a quarterback to come to the pros as it is. But for example, there's a player on the Cavs right now. His name is Darius Garland. He's a point guard. The Cavs took him number 4 overall. He tore his meniscus. He only played 4 games in his last year of college, and he tore his meniscus before his last year of college. He only played 4 games. Coming to the season, rusty. And he had a very bad rookie season. Currently, he's averaging 21 points and 8 assists. And he's on track. And he looked like a young player that should have been drafted at number 4 overall. Well, the thing is that coming back from injury in sports, I don't know if anybody ever came back from injury in sports, but when you come back from injury in sports, you have to work up to your base, and then you have to work up to improve. So when you're a quarterback who goes through injury, you have to work up to how good you were last year in college. Then you got to work up to be a very solid and capable pro quarterback. And that's a lot that's a lot of pressure for a young guy, especially when you're talking about pulling somebody and putting them back in. And I mean, a year is long, but a year really isn't that long in perspective. And I just think that you got to be patient with somebody who's coming off an injury so devastating as a hip injury.
Right.
So,
I don't like I said, I don't think they should have been starting him at all this year.
yeah, I didn't think he should have been. I didn't think
Especially
he
the
should
way
have
they were
been.
playing before he got put in there, and then he got the start, and they lost. And like when Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing, they were looking like they were going to run away with like a playoff berth at the very least, if not competing with the Bills for the AFC East Championship. But they
Yeah,
ended up putting Tua in there, and it kind of tanked their whole season. They end up ten
yeah,
and six and out of the playoffs. So they don't even they get a good draft pick out of it because of the Houston Texans and that whole dumbass Bill Ryan thing. But aside from that, they don't even really get to reap the rewards of not being a playoff team because they're 10-6, and they're going to get a poor draft pick out of that. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I think we probably spent enough time on the Dolphins there. The one thing I'll have to say about the Bills is the Bills are just a machine of a
yeah.
team. Brian
Oh
Daboll.
my
I think
God.
Brian Daboll, if he doesn't have a head coaching job in the next 2 years, then I don't know what the NFL is doing.
Oh yeah, no.
But, even without
The
Josh
Bills are
Allen,
scary.
this Bills team can do whatever they want. It doesn't even matter. They had Gabriel
Mhm.
Davis, who had 107 yards. They had Antonio Williams got 63 rushing yards. You don't even need Josh Allen for this offense to be as insane as it is. But when you do have Josh Allen, he throws 3 touchdowns. So it's just like, I don't know if there's a team out there right now who is scarier than the Buffalo Bills going into this
Oh yeah, no, the Bills are so
going into
scary.
these
Like
playoffs.
I had to use the restroom, and but then the Bills, they scared the out of me.
I get that. Fair enough. Moving on. Me and Zach both did not think that the Chargers had what it took to take down the Kansas City Chiefs. So why don't you tell me, Thomas? What was it all because because the Chiefs were resting Patrick Mahomes, or was there something else that you thought was going on there?
Nope, literally, it's just because I knew the Chiefs were resting Patrick Mahomes. That was literally it.
Yep.
And like I just want to go back to my theory. Yeah, the Chiefs got one more loss, and then before the season was over, and I just wanted to just capitalize on my theory. And I was like, yeah, well, I can't say that and then not capitalize on that theory. So yeah, I still agree with that theory. Yeah.
I think I believed in Chad Henne more than I should have, to be completely honest with you.
And Justin Herbert's a beast too.
Oh yeah, Justin Herbert went off. Like, I mean, 302 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, like, he only, I think, had 9 incompletions on the day despite throwing 31 times.
Yeah.
That's this. Anthony Lynn got fired because despite that kid going insane, they finished 7-9. Like, I'm not surprised Anthony Lynn got fired after that because, like, if you got Justin Herbert as a rookie playing like that and you're not even competitive for the playoffs, you did something wrong.
Yeah. All right.
Not to mention Anthony Lynn has already had a little while to kind of turn this Chargers team around and never really did. So I understand the decision on that one for sure. But that not really a whole lot to talk about here, though, because you don't have Patrick Mahomes, because you have a ton of starters who weren't even playing. Like, I think Travis Kelce wasn't playing either. It looks like Le'Veon Bell didn't even play. I mean, like, we're talking about, like, they're reaching for the bottom of the barrel in Kansas City. I mean, like, I'm barely recognizing any of these names as I'm going through like the list of guys who got stats in the game. Harrison Butker, the kicker, that's who I recognize.
I would play my entire practice squad, man. Like, you're the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, really?
Right.
like, yeah.
Like, what's the difference between 14-2 and 15-1, really?
Okay.
I don't think anybody cares at that point. So, So the Los Angeles Chargers beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but did they? Did they really? They didn't. But you know what? We'll give that one to you anyway, Thomas.
I mean, it was a layup. I'm surprised y'all didn't hop on board with that one.
I don't know. I
And I
felt
made
like
my big
even,
upset of
I
the week
felt like
too.
even the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad could beat the Los Angeles Chargers, but yeah,
I
I
mean,
guess they
apparently
are that damn good.
the Bengals can't beat the Chargers. Ayo, I'm joking.
You know what they did? They almost did. And actually,
Well, in the
no, I
first
take
week
that
of the
back.
season.
They did. The Bengals did beat the Chargers, but the refs called a bullshit pass interference call on AJ Green, and I will argue to my dying day that should have been a touchdown for him.
You're gonna be death big. Like that should have been a touchdown.
That was a crock of shit. We should have been 5-11-1 this year. God, doesn't that sound depressing? Moving on.
What we got next? Because I got a movie to catch in an hour and a half.
Yeah, so we don't got that much more to talk about, but we do got. Let's see. The Colts and the Jaguars. Now, like you said earlier, there was a game that you were trying to get kind of cute on. That was pretty much me in this one. It's like, did I actually think that the Jacksonville Jaguars were really a better team than the Indianapolis Colts? No, I didn't. And especially with the Colts having the playoffs to play for, were they really going to let the Jacksonville Jaguars beat them? No, I didn't really think that. But I was 12 games behind you, man. I had to make some crazy ass predictions. Okay, and I feel like the Jaguars are a better team than they get credit for, or at least a more talented team than they get credit for. And I really don't trust Phillip Rivers. So I thought there was a chance that the Colts just kind of like show up flat to this game, and they didn't do amazingly compared to how you'd think they'd play against the Jaguars, but I mean, when you're up against like, Mike Glennon and Dare Ogunbowale, who is Jacksonville's leading rusher. When you're up against that, yeah, I think you're going to be pretty good. So,
by the way,
who only threw for 164 yards, touchdown and interception, but it was enough. And Jonathan Taylor, boy oh boy, he rushed for 253 yards.
Oh, he's a beast. He's a beast.
He is insane. He almost won me a fantasy championship this year.
Who's the running back for Jacksonville? Not the one that played today or yesterday.
Normally it's James Robinson.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
He's going to be good. I think they would have had a better chance to win if he had been playing, and also if Gardner Minshew had been playing over Mike Glennon. But I think if the Jaguars weren't tanking this year, I'm not sure what they were doing, because like that's no way to treat your quarterback room to have Gardner Minshew, clearly the most talented quarterback in that on that team, get benched for basically no reason, and then constantly cycling between like Jake Luton and Mike Glennon and et cetera, et cetera. And that was just that was, I don't know what they were thinking, but that's why Doug Marrone got fired. Moving on. We got the let's see. Talk about Washington, talk about the Vikings, we didn't talk about that yet. Chargers, Packers, Bills, the Raiders. So both you and Zach correctly predicted the Las Vegas Raiders to beat the Denver Broncos. I thought the Broncos would win, and I don't think this was a crazy pick for me to make. Now, I will admit the reason I picked it is because you picked the Raiders, and I needed to beat you. But in seriousness, it wasn't a crazy pick to make. The Raiders only won by 1 point. The Broncos in general have not looked like a completely dysfunctional team lately, and the Raiders have. So while the Raiders clearly have more talent, I thought that the Broncos were going to be able to pull it off, and they almost did, Thomas. Brandon McManus lined up for a 63-yard field goal, which that sounds crazy, right? But it's in Denver, and it's Brandon McManus. That's one of the strongest legs in the NFL, and you're kicking in Denver altitude. So if that field goal hadn't got blocked, then, like some of the longest field goals in NFL history, all of them happened in Denver because of that altitude. Matt Prater and who I forget who it was. The kicker for the Broncos when I was a kid hit like a 60-something yarder, and Matt Prater hit like a 60-something yarder. And both of them had the record for the longest field goal of all time for a little while there.
I never been to Denver before.
Yeah.
One of the areas like there.
In Denver, I'm not sure, but apparently it's super thin, and that's why kickers do so well. But a 63-yard field goal being kicked in Denver, that's not quite as crazy as a 63-yard field goal kicked in like Cleveland, for example. So,
Yeah.
but it got blocked, and that was it for Denver. But if they had hit that field goal, the Broncos would have won. So that one almost actually went in my direction. It just, at the very end did not happen, unfortunately. But, it is what it is.
They try to use science to win the game.
Yeah.
A famous scientist once said, "Science rule."
Jason Elam, that was the guy I was trying to think of. Jason Elam, he was the Broncos kicker, I think, during the John Elway era, and also do when what was his name? Jake. Now his nickname was Jake the Snake, but he was like Jake Plummer. He was the quarterback for a while. Brian Greasy back during that era. Jason Elam was their kicker. But yeah, anyway, not a whole lot to talk about here. Neither of these two teams were playoff teams after the Raiders kind of collapsed at the end of the season. The Raiders got the win, but only really kind of barely at the end by blocking Brandon McManus's field goal. So anyway, moving on. Our next game that we need to talk about, we already talked about Colts. Let's talk about the Saints and the Panthers. Now, this is another one where I didn't really have a whole lot of analysis on this one as far as like backing up my theory. Did I think the Panthers would really beat the Saints, especially when the Saints had kind of like the faintest hope of potentially getting that number 1 overall seed? No, that's ridiculous. But I needed it to happen so that I could beat you on the predictions. But yeah, this was not a good game for the Panthers. They lost 33-7. It was a complete and utter blowout. Drew Brees might be retiring. Actually, I heard a report saying Drew Brees is retiring at the end of the season. But that's the way to go out, by throwing for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, only 201 yards, but on the backs of a 156-yard rushing performance. So good look at you, Saints. Nothing really to talk about here other than the fact that it was a complete and utter blowout. PJ Walker, the XFL quarterback, now back up for the Carolina Panthers, went in for a little while, and he did not play well at all. Threw 3 interceptions. Wow. The Panthers had 5 combined interceptions on the day. That is remarkable. So yeah, that's what happened. The Panthers just kept turning the ball over.
I didn't see that game. I didn't even know
Teddy
PJ
Bridgewater fumbled twice.
Yeah. Yeah, they might need a quarterback over there. Yeah, they might need a quarterback.
So that's a total of 7 turnovers by the quarterbacks alone.
Yeah, they might need a quarterback over there.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, they might need a quarterback over there.
I think so, but I think there's no question that the Saints were absolutely the correct team to pick here. I just needed that game to not happen that way because I needed 12 games picked differently than you to go my way. That's literally the only reason I picked the Panthers in this one.
Yeah, they might need a quarterback
because there's nothing really interesting to talk about here. The Titans.
7 interceptions. The Titans in the the Titans
now okay, so why this one I feel was about, now that the final score ended up better, but I felt that this one was almost kind of as off the wall of a pick to make as the Saints and Panthers, and obviously the score ended up being much more competitive, but still, why the Texans, Thomas?
Because the Titans, because like I question how good the Titans really are. I think the I said in the last one, I think the Ravens are going to beat the Titans this weekend. I want to stick by that. I just don't think the Titans are that overpoweringly good. I mean, they're good, but I just know that the Titans have struggled with Deshaun Watson historically. They have struggled with him a lot, and I thought the Titans might be able to, or I thought the Texans might be able to catch the Titans slipping this week.
Right.
So I just kind of went with the upset because I thought, like, yeah, they struggle with Deshaun Watson. This is a game. This is a team that Deshaun Watson knows well. I thought the Texans might get their stuff together and play better this week in a more aspiring game against a team, a conference rival or a division rival that they don't really like too much, and a team that they traditionally play well against. So I just thought that they might be able to take advantage of a team that doesn't play well. I was wrong.
Well, you
But,
weren't
you know,
entirely wrong because they really Deshaun Watson like gave that Tennessee defense fits, but the thing that you could never count out when it comes to the Tennessee Titans is Derrick Henry. And
Yep.
y'all got, like, I'm telling y'all, all y'all, not just you, Thomas, but all y'all gotta stop writing off this Titans team because they don't look special. Because it doesn't
Oh,
matter. Because Derrick
I don't write off
Henry
the
is on a different planet.
Jeez.
He ran
That's
for
true.
250 yards. The Titans. Ryan Tannehill only threw for 1 touchdown, but him and Derrick Henry both ran for 2 touchdowns each. So, like, yeah, that Tennessee defense is trash, and they're not going to win a Super Bowl. But they could possibly make some noise in the playoffs, just simply because of that. Because of Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, and that is literally the only reason that they're going to make noise. But it is the entire reason why they could make noise, because these two are something else, especially Derrick Henry and the way Ryan Tannehill plays off of Derrick Henry. It's just it's not even it's
true.
not even fair sometimes. Like how do you even scheme against that?
That's true. I give you that.
And again, the
I give
Bengals
you
beat
that.
them.
I give you that. I just thought Deshaun Watson might be able to, find some way to beat them. I bet Deshaun Watson might go down one last win before the season was over, just to just show people that, hey, don't forget who I am.
Yep.
It was more or less a confidence in the Deshaun Watson pick. But hey, I was wrong. I admit it.
Yeah. So last game we have to talk about before we get to these AFC North games is the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. Both me and Zach picked the Rams to win, and you picked the Cardinals.
I don't know why I picked the Cardinals, if I'm being real with you. I don't know. I honestly don't know why I picked the Cardinals. I honestly don't know why I picked the Cardinals. I don't.
Oh, the whole reason that I picked the Rams was simply now I didn't know Jared. Sorry, I didn't know Jared Goff wasn't playing. So had I known Jared Goff wasn't playing, maybe I might have made a different
no, that's
pick.
the reason why I didn't pick the. That's the reason why I didn't pick the Rams. That's why I picked the Rams.
Well, okay, I guess, but Kyler Murray's been so injury prone lately, and also hasn't been playing well. So that was my main thought with I figured this was going to be Jared Goff versus Kyler Murray, and I don't trust Kyler. The way Kyler Murray's been playing lately, I'm not saying he's going to be bad forever, but he's going through a funk right now, and I don't know how he's going to get out of it. I figure he will eventually get out of it, but like right now, I don't know. I didn't see him doing very well against the Rams, and he didn't. He did okay. Completed 8 of his 11 passes for 87 yards, but he got sacked twice and he ended up getting hurt. And then Chris Steverler, I think is his name, went to the game. The Rams, even though they were starting a backup quarterback, at the same time, it's not like Jared Goff is any good. So it's like I know John Wolford. Who the hell is John Wolford? Well, he's he's an experienced non-NFL quarterback, is what he is. He was an AAF quarterback, and I think that's all he was. I think he was an AAF quarterback, and he did pretty well there. And I can't remember if he played in the CFL or not. That might have been Chris Steverler, I think. But point is, John Wolford had a little bit of experience. Now he's not particularly talented. He's not particularly great at any given thing, but because you got Sean McVay, because you've got a really good defense, and because you're playing against a Cardinals team that is, has extremely imperfect. Um, you got a Rams team that can play really well around John Wolford, and then John
Mhm.
Wolford is free to make some mistakes and then get some things done on top of that. Now the
Yeah.
Rams didn't exactly have a high-powered offense, but they had enough of an offense to get things going. And what's actually remarkable is they didn't have an offensive touchdown. They won this game without having a single offensive touchdown. I believe the defense, Troy Hill intercepted. I think it was Kyler Murray at the time. No, it was Chris Steverler. Troy Hill intercepted Chris Steverler and ran it back for a touchdown, and that was not the difference in this game, but it was a pretty significant difference in this game. It would have been, I think, 11-7 otherwise, and it would have been a game of all field goals on the Rams side. However, Rams still would have won doing all field goals. So,
Huh.
or wait, no, it would have been 9-7. Point being, Rams still would have won because the Cardinals'
Yeah.
offense couldn't do a damn thing.
Yeah. I just thought that I just thought that I didn't think that Jared Goff was. I mean, I thought without Jared Goff, I think you lose your starting quarterback going against a team like the Cardinals. The Cardinals, the Cardinals they won some impressive games. I just didn't want to think that what the Cardinals done at the beginning of the season was complete fool's gold, but maybe it was. Maybe Kyler
Well,
Murray's thinking about baseball.
I think I see. My thing is like the biggest thing for me, and me and Zach talked about it after you left the last predictions episode. But the biggest
Mhm.
thing for me is when you've got a situation like the Cardinals and the Rams are in going into this game, it's going to be about who's coaching these teams. And I will take Sean McVay 10 times out of 10 over Cliff Kingsbury. I'm not saying Kingsbury's a terrible coach, but I am saying I don't know if I really buy him as a coach that can coach around massive deficiencies.
Yeah.
Um, and but like whereas Sean McVay, I know he's at his blind spots at times, but I think this Rams team always has a chance to win if Sean McVay is the head coach. Regardless of the talent that they have or whatever they're putting out there, if Sean McVay is the coach, they've got a chance to win. And that was really the difference for me in this game. That's why I picked the Rams, and then it also helped. It wasn't the reason I picked this, but it also helped that, like I said earlier, the Bears making the playoffs at 8-8 is the most Mitch Trubisky thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Uh, yeah.
So let's
Yeah. I agree.
let's
I
go ahead
agree.
and wrap it up then with the two AFC North games, both of which I got wrong, and I'll eat crow. I was wrong. My bad. Um, I'll go ahead and talk about the Bengals game first because that one's a little more embarrassing. Um, I was like, oh no, I think the Bengals can beat the Ravens. Yeah, the Bengals been playing well the last couple of weeks. It's gonna be all hunky dory, and oh boy, did we! Ouch, that was a bad game. I did. I'll actually I'll complete full and 100% transparency. I did watch the whole game, but not at the same time. I actually I got so sick and tired of watching that catastrophe that I actually switched over to the Browns and Steelers game. Because that was just it was an eyesore. There was nothing good to watch there. I went back and I watched it on NFL Game Pass so I could be as informed as I possibly could be on this podcast.
Mhm.
But I 100% just couldn't keep watching that fucking train wreck. That was awful. And if the Bengals had fired Zach Taylor after that game, I would have disagreed, but I would not have been upset because that was horrible. That might have been the worst game
Yo,
played all year.
I see the thing is though is that like I tried watching that game, but every single time I look, Lamar Jackson's running for like 15 yards, so it's like, oh, this game's over. Um, y'all didn't, man, they even look like the Bengals didn't look like they was interested, man. We talked about this on the main podcast. I don't think that, like I say, I think I think the Bengals had the week 17 yips. I don't really feel like being here no more.
Yeah, well, you know what?
I'm ready for the off season.
You know what, Bengals? If it makes you feel better, I'm right there with you. I don't want to
I
really
mean,
be
like
here.
honestly, like I mean, like really, like nobody's gonna hold anything against the Bengals for losing a Week 17 game.
You should watch Bengals Twitter right now. You don't think anybody's holding anything against them for
Yeah, but
losing this
I
Week
mean, like they're
17
gonna be
game?
mad. They're gonna be mad regardless. They're gonna be mad regardless.
No.
They're probably
If we had won that game, a significant portion of the fan base would have been saying like, "Hey, look at all this cool stuff we did at the end of the year." But
yeah,
because of the
but
way that Week 17 ended, all that optimism's right out the door.
well, I mean, y'all won 2 out of the last 3. I mean, y'all did win 2 out of the last 3. Y'all still have y'all quarterback and your coach.
Nobody cares when you lose 38-3 in the final game.
I mean, we lost 33 the first game.
That's great, but you followed it up and made the playoffs.
I mean, y'all might make the playoffs next year. Maybe this is a good sign for.
Yeah, you know what? If we make the playoffs next year, everybody's going to forget about this game. Okay, nobody's going to remember this game when we make the playoffs next year. But that's not going to happen until next year. We're all pissed off right now.
I think the players were more worried about being on the beach next week then.
What the fuck do they get paid for?
It's COVID. Well, I mean, like it's Week 17. I don't know. Who we got next?
All right, let's talk about this final game. The Cleveland Browns. I was wrong about this one. I thought the Steelers were going to win this game. I wasn't that crazy because they did kind of pull it together at the end, and they almost if it hadn't been for kind of Baker Mayfield and that scramble at the end of the game, that could have been a Steelers win. And that is exactly what I was worried about. I was worried about the Browns kind of going into this game and not really taking the Steelers maybe as seriously as they should have because it's all backups.
Mm-hmm.
And the Browns also, like, again, I'm not trying to talk shit. I'm trying to be honest. The Browns over my entire lifetime that I can remember have done nothing but just kind of like limp dick their way into basically every single meaningful game I can remember. And so that was kind of what I felt they were going to do in this game because they've never shown me anything different in their entire existence. And you know what? That's what they did. Now Baker Mayfield kind of saved them there at the end, and they got off to a pretty good lead there for a while, 24-9 at the end of the third quarter. Yeah, the end of the third quarter, they were up 24-9. That's pretty impressive. But the fact that the Steelers got within 2 in only the fourth quarter, that's a problem. Okay, that's a problem, and the Browns are going to have to. I don't know what I'm going to pick next week, but I'll tell you one thing: the Browns didn't convince me of shit, and that's what this whole game was about: was convincing me that not just me, but convincing everybody that you're deserving of being a playoff team. I believe that Baker Mayfield is worthy of being a playoff quarterback, but I don't know if I believe that Browns team is worthy of being a playoff team.
It's been an uphill battle for me defending the Browns all year, so I'm not even worried about it. So me personally, I'm just chilling. Look, all I'm saying is, yeah, they should have won by more. But the thing is, though, you go back and watch that game, the Browns they were in control of that game for 90% of that game. So the Steelers just
4 quarters
just fought. Yeah, they just fought and clawed themselves back into the game. They have a lot of pride. The Steelers didn't resting their receivers, and the Browns didn't have secondary, so the receivers just ran haywhacker over the Browns cornerbacks. But you get Kevin Johnson back next week. You get Denzel Ward back next week. Those are 2 better receivers than what you had in these practice or cornerbacks. You have practice squad cornerbacks out there, so hopefully we can get better cornerbacks out there and play better defense. That's all I gotta say about it. That happened said on the podcast. I'm not gonna tip my hand to tell you what I'm gonna say for this weekend and my strategy of how the Browns gonna win next weekend. But I'm just happy the Browns won. They got the W. Like I said, they're gonna win. Like I said on last podcast, I don't care if they squeak by. I don't care how they win a game. I don't care if they win it by technicality. As long as they win and make the playoffs, as they did, I'm not moving the goalposts on this one. They won the game. I told them just win the game. They didn't lose it. That's all you need to do. Set the culture. Keep building upon the culture that you're building right here. And they won the game. Now let's win some playoff games. That's
Well,
all I
you
got to
know
say about
what?
that game.
I'm glad they did that. I'll leave it at that. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad the Browns did what they were supposed to do. Good for you.
Yep.
Now step it up next week, because boy, you better.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Yep.
I'm excited. First playoff game. Oh, it's gonna be fun.
I'm looking forward to watching it. I will be rooting my ass off for the Browns. And as I've said before many times on this podcast, I am no Browns fan, but I 100 million times out of 100 million times will take the Browns over the Steelers.
Yeah, because Steelers still suck.
Steelers still suck, and the Browns are going to prove it next week. But anyway, that's all we got for the predictions recap at the end of Week 17. Thomas is the winner of 2020 as far as predictions go.
But we still got the playoff, baby.
Do what?
We still got the playoff, baby.
Well, we do have the playoffs. The playoffs are a different beast, but as far as the regular season goes, Thomas is the regular season champion with a final score of 94, 44, and 1, and I came in second. We'll call it that. With 81, 57, and 1. So I'll turn it around and kick your ass in the playoffs. But until then, enjoy your regular season championship.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry for the playoff, baby.
But anyway, thanks for listening to this, guys. Check out the main podcast, which has probably already been posted by now, and look forward to what we got to say next week. So see you around.
See you in the playoffs, baby.
Yeah, see you next year.